Hello everyone, welcome back to WB Blacksmithing. Today we are finishing the integral Damascus keyhole knife. So stay tuned and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Finally getting it done, and I'm glad that you guys finally get to watch it. So thanks. Okay, so here is the rough 36 grit ground blade. The lines on this side are pretty good, but on this side I messed it up right here. The rest of it's pretty good, but right here I'm gonna have to fix by hand a little bit, get nice clean lines. That one's pretty decent, just for 24 grit, and I lightly 24 grit ground the integral keyhole bolster thing here. Okay, so after sanding that blade down in the tang / bolster area, pretty much everything sanded down, drop it in the acid. Just gonna leave it in there for a little while and we'll bring it out, see what it looks like. Probably gonna do a coffee etch as well, like a hot instant coffee bath for a little while, bring out the darkness in the 1084. We'll sand the 15 and 20 to make it lighter again, because the coffee will also darken that up just a tad. But we'll sand the 15 and 20 lightly with like some 2000 grit sandpaper by hand carefully, and make a pretty nice contrast. With some oiling afterwards, it should look pretty nice. Okay, so here's the knife. Just out of the etch. It's kind of not very pronounced because I didn't sand it at all and I didn't put it in coffee yet. But what I decided for the handle, I'm inside by the way, for the handle, I would like to try my first homemade epoxy resin handle. Not only will it be way easier to fit into here, because I don't really need to do anything except pour it in there and then sand the handle to shape, but I think it would be really nice to have for this Damascus blade. I think it would look cool. I did get the black dye for it because this is clear resin, so I want the handle to be black. I think that would be nice, especially once I do sand this blade down more and etch it again and then coffee etch it. Get the steel to be more black on the 1084 and more white on the 15 and 20. It's just kind of gray right now, but I think that would be pretty cool. Okay, so I have a little cup here. Hopefully this cup is strong enough. My resin here, popsicle sticks for mixing. And I have this little thing set up. It should be pretty sealed. I used tape to tape the whole thing down to this tray, and I cut these pieces out from one of the trays that I had to make it. I taped the corners. I have the blade set here, taped down, nice and sturdy. You can see I have a little piece in between here and here, little section cut out. Hopefully not much pours out through here, but I wanted to raise the keyhole bolster section from the bottom here. That way the epoxy goes on the underside as well. That way I don't have any sections where the epoxy didn't get filled in here, just to have a nice even block the whole way around. Okay, so needless to say, my mold did not really work, so I had to improvise before this started to set, and this stuff takes a while to set. You're supposed to stir this stuff according to the manufacturer directions for 5 minutes alone, so definitely not like the 5-minute epoxy that I usually work with. I had to still be as fast as I could to improvise this little Tupperware container with a hole tight enough to hold this up in this pop can. I had to pour all of my already poured and mixed epoxy resin into here as full as I could. You can see a very nasty mess everywhere. So didn't go as planned, but it's all right now. So once this is dry, I'm gonna wait probably 2 days. Honestly, you're supposed to wait at least 24 hours. I think I'm gonna wait a couple days, make sure this whole can is dry. I had to use basically all this because I kept spilling a lot through the whole transfer process. But it's alright. It's pretty well set now in there at least. So whenever this is completely dry, I'm just going to, I don't even know, just have to grind all of this basically because it's all stuck together. Alright, so back in the shop out here, you can see what I had to do. I have this big block of resin on my knife, and the bottom of the can, plus the 2 layers of tray, styrofoam tray, stuck to the bottom, which isn't really a problem because I have to grind this anyways. I'll just have a little bit more material to grind off there. So I'm going to try to get that can and stuff ground off. And hopefully I can use the saw and just saw through a lot of this extra material here. That way I don't have to grind so much. Okay, lots of dust. I did manage to cut a good bit off with the jigsaw a couple times. Here it is, just shaped down. Obviously gonna have to re-etch. I'm gonna have to sand this down because, as I showed in one of the past clips, I did get some resin on here in the process of having to transfer from my fancy mold that leaked everywhere to a pop can. So there's that. We're just gonna leave that alone for now. Well, technically no, we're not. I'm gonna have to sand a bit, but I'm gonna stick this piece that I chopped off, piece of my resin, into some acid to see if it hurts it in any way, because I'm gonna have to obviously put part of my resin at least in the acid. There's not really a good way to cover that up. But yeah, you can see that perfect fit, no gaps, because it poured right in there. That's why I wanted to do that partially, and I think it would look really cool once it's all polished up again. This stuff is just totally black. It's like pure dark black when it's polished up, as you could see from the color when it was freshly poured. I think I showed that to you at least. But yeah, gonna have to etch the whole integral keyhole section again, and the blade. So at least like half of my resin will be in the acid. I can try to tape it up a little bit or something, but I'm gonna have to leave the metal out so it can etch. But I'm gonna have to sand a lot of this, and I'm gonna put this little chunk in, see if anything happens to it. I'll let you know what goes on with that. Okay, so I had the corner of this, like a big part of the corner, probably about a quarter of this material, in the acid for quite a while I was sanding the knife down to get it ready to etch. And then I just dipped some water out with this can and poured that water on to this, rinse off the acid. Looks like absolutely nothing changed at all, so I'm just going to say that I should be perfectly fine. Oh, jeez, almost dropped the camera. So I'm going to say that we should be good to dip this knife. So I'll let you know how that goes. I'll be back in a few seconds. Alrighty, after over an hour of etching, it does look a little cloudy. I have some sandpaper. I'm going to sit down and sandpaper over the blade in the integral keyhole bolster part. Just basically rinsing it off with Dawn dish liquid to neutralize the acid. You can use baking soda and water mixture, or just baking soda. You can rub it on there with a glove, preferably. Try not to touch the acid with your bare hands. A lot of the acids used for knives like this won't really damage your skin per se, but a lot of them can irritate your skin quite a bit. But you can see some of our pattern, not bad. It'll pop out a lot more once I sand this a little bit and then go into the instant coffee bath. Alright folks, so my knife is in the coffee. Just let it in there an hour or two. Forget about it. Just forget about it. Won't hurt anything. And when we're done, we'll sand it off. Make sure the coffee's off of there. And all we need to do is sharpen it. But for now, we'll just forget about it in the coffee. Be back. Okay, here it is. You can't really see it in this lighting very well. I'll show you back in the house after it's all complete. Or add a couple good photos at the end of the video. But here it is. Added a coffee. And lightly buffed on the buffing wheel on a bench grinder. Now I'm going to sharpen it. The last step pretty much, other than an oiling. So I'm going to start on a rougher belt to get my main edge put on here. Then we'll go to a finer belt. Then we'll do the buffing wheel for the edge again. So stay tuned. Okay, not oiled yet, just sharpened and everything else besides oiled. Hopefully I can catch this. I tried to get you in some outside light. I'm not sure if my phone here is good enough. Maybe not. Well, oh, there we go. So there's some hair from my arm just now. Not a problem. The buffing wheel on the edge after sharpening on the belt grinder, it pretty much acts as a power strop. Knocks down that burr that you form. So there's some hair from my arm. Here's the blade pre-oiling. Oiling just makes all the difference. So I'll go inside, oil this, and show you it then. Alright, so here's the knife. Try to get some good lighting for you to see it. There's one side of the pattern. Honestly, I think this side looks better. And there's the one side of the whole knife. And then the opposite side, pattern's a little bit more bland and not quite as vibrant, or whatever the best word would be. I guess we didn't get into as many layers on this side as we did on the other side, but that's alright. There's the other side of the knife. There's the top. You can see the layers in the spine. And the bottom, you can see the layers a little bit. So there's my handle. And I think it turned out pretty nice. Not bad, pretty sharp too. So thanks for watching and subscribing. Bye.